Hey folks, Phil Gallagher here for the final match with Black-White Taxes for this week. Thank you again to Anthony C. for supporting this week of Daily DMT, and if you're enjoying the series, please consider supporting it. Alright. If Mana Denial is good, boy, this hand has it in spades. Like, Thalia plus double Wasteland can be very, very good against a lot of decks. If Mana Denial is not good, this hand is medium minus. I'm going to play an ambiguous opening. Prismatic Vista Go does not scream D&T. That's mighty interesting. So if this is Ant, I just want to slam Thalia. This is a Delver deck. I really probably just want to Wasteland them and set the turn back. Do I have data on my opponent? Go Chrome, please. Probably Delver. I think I'm going to go for an Upkeep Wasteland. Upkeep due to Stifle, in case that wasn't already clear. Now there's this weird sub-game going on where we both probably have Stifle on our minds. I will go ahead and fetch. Didn't get stifled. I don't really expect this to resolve. Like, my opponent's on 7, right? So if they are some sort of Delver deck, then... and they haven't, like, pondered or brainstormed or played Delver or played a discard spell, like, they've got to have counter spells in there. So, like, in some way, I expect this Thalia to be answered in this turn cycle. This is a long pause. Okay, they're just figuring out what to pitch with Force of Will. Ponder is the answer. So if my opponent just taps out and like plays an Arcanist, then I have Source of Plowshares for it. Goodbye, Source of Plowshares. That's a fine draw. I'm going to continue to press this mana denial advantage that I have. I am much more scared of an Arcanist coming down now, though. So, like, I don't have a Source of Plowshares. I don't have a creature that's big enough to take it out in combat. And that's a bad combination. An astounding number of great top decks, though. Just bounce it. Sure. I value playing the Stoneforge through days very highly here. So I'm getting Sword of Fire and Ice because the cards that potentially beat me from this board state are all colored. Like, I don't necessarily want to just, like, get a Batterskull, have the Stoneforge Mystic get bolted, and have that rot in hand or something, and I want to be able to get through young Pyromancer tokens. So I wonder if my opponent is playing Edicts. Because if they're not playing Edicts, just, like, suiting up the Stoneforge this turn is pretty spicy. Let's see, what was in their last list? Okay, yeah, so their last list is from about 2 weeks ago. They had a main deck Fatal Push, 4 Lightning Bolts as removal. If I suit up, I do still have Gurmag Angler to worry about, though. So, well, my opponent doesn't know about this card. I can suit up, let them have some elementals, kill Young Pyromancer next turn with the sword, and if they have Gurmag Angler, remove it that way. I think I'm fine with taking that route and not just, like, impulse killing the Young Pyromancer on sight. The Fatal Push is a little punishing here. But otherwise, this feels very strong. Oh, that feels like an early concession, but obviously I'm totally fine with it. Plague Engineer is going to feel pretty great. Just like being able to board wipe on Elemental or like Rogue to get rid of True Name Nemesis seems good. I'll probably play Cabal for the life gain. Not going to go Bitter Blossom levels of deep. Path to Exile seems fine. Council's Judgment seems fine. Unsure about Sanctum Prelate. I will not want to play Palace Jailer. That I'm pretty sure about, since my opponent can go wide of it pretty easily, even though I'm going to have these Plague Engineers. That seems a little bit sketchy. I'm not going to want my Revokers. I'm going to have few or no targets on the other side of the table. My opponent's last sideboard had Thoughtseizes, Bitter Blossoms, Null Rods, Shenanigans, Plague Engineer that I might need to be concerned with. I'm not really sure that I'm going to play this. I think I just want like a fistful of removal spells for my opponent and just access to them at all stages of the game. And I think I'm probably going to board out my Bobs and just play very light on the Black Splash, mostly intending to like use the Black Splash for late game bombs. Cabal, while not exactly a bomb, is pretty obnoxious. Like, its 2/3 size isn't particularly relevant. It walls Young Pyromancer and Elementals, but if I stick that and start using it to just gain a little bit of ancillary life, that's probably good. So the other way I could see boarding is just like not playing Cabal and then keeping in 1 Bob or 1 Prelate. I think that's reasonable as well. It's not crazy to play Rest in Peace. I'm leaning towards no on that decision. Very easy mulligan here. This hand's not great. This hand has serious problems in that I can't cast these. The second copy of this is perhaps not good either. and I'm also going to probably be fetching non-basic lands with this because I'm already going to be vulnerable to Wasteland. So all in all, really not happy with this hand, but I don't think I can throw it back. I've opted towards thinking that my opponent is not playing Stifle. My opponent plays a Delver, I might just be forced to Swords to Plowshare it. Ugh. Ugh. Alright, so in case you're wondering why I don't fetch planes here to play around Wasteland, I'm going to explain that one. So if you have one basic land and one non-basic land, you still get Wastelanded, and you also knock yourself off a color. The only way this is punishing is if my opponent has double Wasteland. So that's just something to keep in mind. To use my mana efficiently, I'm actually just going to redeploy the Thalia here, hoping that it puts sort of a crimp on my opponent's style. Part of the reason is because I want to wait another turn. A Gurmag Angler or a Arcanist is so much scarier than the Delver right now that I'd much rather be able to answer them. Now I need to draw a land to answer it. Well, shit. I'm making a very awkward play here. So I'm trying to keep my Thalia around. Never mind, it's not going to work. So one of these is now getting pushed. One of them is getting bolted. Oh no, my opponent gets to keep a push in hand. And I don't know if I would have showed me that second bolt. It lets you bolt next turn from the graveyard, so like I get it. But hiding this information is very strong. If I were the opponent, I would be looking for the card Daze right now. Top. I'm going to source Plowshares now. If I get another land, I'm okay with my position, assuming my opponent doesn't have another threat. Like, Flicker Wisp, unflip the Delver is very, very strong at this stage. Okay, so we're gonna do this one upkeep though, because my opponent already has like a Brainstorm up. So now we just need to resolve this Plague Engineer on Rogue, and we have a win condition. Blackberry Rogues. Oh geez, is this like a true name too? No, it's an angler. So I know about the fatal push that is in their hand. So accordingly, I'm going to get Jitte and not Batterskull. I'm not even sure that I would have fatal pushed if I were them. I mean, I can understand doing it. But I don't know that the Stoneforge actually represents a threat. I need to draw a land this turn or I die. So again, if I were the opponent, I'd be looking for Daze. Alright, I drew the land. Do you have the days? No. Unfortunately, we probably have to trade engineer for angler. Never mind. We have to take 5. And then we'll figure it out from here. Situation's not great. Swords to Plowshares, Council's Judgment would be very strong. Recruiter less so. How am I getting out of this one? Plague Engineer trades with Gurmag Angler, and then Bitter Blossom is around. And I have this Liliana to worry about. Or sorry, not trades, that's not an accurate word. Guess I'm getting my Crusader. The Bitter Blossom is still a problem, though. Please let me chump block with Recruiter. Alright, I will have no outs to that, because my opponent is going to have like 3 different bodies. Can't top deck Palace Jailer, it's in the sideboard, and I would also need a land. I don't think I'm going to change anything about what I'm doing based on what I saw. On the play, the Sanctum Prelate is a little stronger. I could also just trim an X1 to a little bit better play around Plague Engineer. Sounds great. I'm hoping that I will just get to like wasteland my opponent on turn 1. But they're not giving me that freebie. I would much rather guarantee that the Stoneforge resolves rather than play it out this turn. My opponent, I think, only has 1 out to the Aether Bell. I believe they have 1 copy of Shenanigans. So I think rather than just jam into it, I'm just going to play Stoneforge and pass. Or sorry, rather than jam Stoneforge and pass and like play into Daze or Force, I would rather just like hold up the ability to wasteland them or hold up the ability to cast Swords to Plowshares. You wasteland me, I wasteland you. This would be a pretty good spot for a Thoughtseize. It would also be a pretty good spot for another Wasteland off the top. No? Okay, well, that's fine. I will use Ether Vial's ability. Get in there, Stoneforge Mystic. So, I think Jitte is the worst piece of equipment that I can fetch in every way, except that I can hardcast it on my turn. I'm going to take Sword of Fire and Ice for long-term prospects. I'm actually pretty darn happy to draw a land there. I'm just going to pass the turn, and I'll probably put in Cabal on their upkeep. Just kind of guarantee getting some life out of it at some point. Opponent has so many cards, not making any moves. So I presume that means, like, goodbye, Sword of Fire and Ice. My sword could just get, like, Brazen Borrower bounced or something. It'll push on Cabal. Yeah, that's fine. They don't have a Caracas to bounce it or anything. Now what do you have here? Shenanigans? Bounce it? Abrade. Yeah, sure. So my board position has gotten noticeably worse, but, you know, basically all my spells are uncounterable. And I have a great out to a bunch of their creatures. Well, multiple outs to their creatures. So, like, I can Swords to Plowshares an Angler or an Arcanist that comes down. I have an answer to a True Name. I probably won't even, like, put this Plague Engineer in play if my opponent doesn't produce a creature. Merfolk Rogue, you say? Rogue is a very dangerous creature type, friend. Because I shut off your Bitter Blossoms, too, with this. I'm actually very happy that they tapped out for True Name Nemesis, which is not something I say a lot. Because it means that I can just apply more pressure. So we'll go always no to that. Oh, God. Recruiter's a sick draw. I have so many things I can do with that. But we're going to do something that lets us act uncounterably. Note if my opponent had mana up, I would do this sequencing much tighter. But because they don't, that can be a little sloppy. So opponent would love a big body like Gurmag Angler to wall the field. An Arcanist, I guess, isn't bad. Braiding the Jitte is pretty good. But again, if they are abrading Jitte and not like answering the 4 creatures that I have in play, things are probably okay for me. Nice. And our opponent has just conceded. So that's a 4-1, which was effectively a 5-0. You know, I timed out that one match, which I wouldn't have done if I was streaming, or not streaming, recording, but, you know, so it goes. Felt amazingly good about the Plague Engineers here. Bob was medium. Bob probably killed me that one time it flipped Palace Jailer. But the Black Splash felt viable. You know, I don't know that this is... I don't know that the gains that you get from the black will be worth the damage that you do to your mana base versus Delver. So, like, Grixis Delver is still one of the most popular decks around. But as we saw that round, like, even Plague Engineer is very good against them. You know, Plague Engineer is, you know, one of the best creatures that has been printed in years. Just sort of, like, unquestionably powerful, very flexible, you know, only single black, so it's easily splashable. So Plague Engineer is a card that you should be playing with, or if you are playing a creature deck, you should have a plan for dealing with it. I hope you all have enjoyed this week of Daily D&T. If you have, please continue to support it, you know, especially as we get towards Christmas time. I'm going to need to do a recording of a couple weeks in advance so that we're not missing out on matches while I'm gone. I hope you all had a great weekend, and fingers crossed that Mengucci has won a GP by the time this video goes live.